Cool. So, Ambrose, you started this company in 2019, and we're obviously going to be talking a lot about what you're going to be doing in the coming weeks. How does it feel to finally be at the starting line?
It feels good, right? We've been working towards this really for about 5 years to getting to the point where we are now. And, as of Thursday of this last week, it was the first time where I got to witness, cannabis product being delivered in our own transport vehicle to our own dispensary from our own craft grow. And that's a big deal. Something that we've been working for towards like vertical integration, and be able to kind of see it come to fruition is really a beautiful thing.
No, that's an enormous thing. And 1937 is not just a cannabis company. It's multifaceted. It's an entertainment company. It's a cultural company. And we're here today in front of a bus that represents the 1937 Foundation. Tell us a little bit about the foundation, and then we could talk a little bit about the Healing Center.
Yeah. So the foundation in concept was born from our actual application for our dispensary here in Illinois. And every applicant needed to have a community engagement plan. And this was something that we took very seriously. The type of impact that we wanted to really have, and bring to our communities, which we felt has been lacking. And so, fast forward, there was about a 2-year period where the whole licensing process was delayed due to, COVID, as well as some legal issues with the state was dealing with.
Scoring irregularities?
Yeah. And at the same time, I did also notice that the RS3 fund, Restore, Reinvest, Renew Fund, I believe is what it stands for, something to that effect. They had moved forward in using the tax proceeds to provide grant fund money to other companies and other not-for-profits in Illinois. And so, kind of seeing that large amount of money being dispersed while we were sitting on the sidelines, gave me the idea that we really needed to kind of take action. And so, I used our original application and wrote a grant off of it for those same funds, and was awarded a grant.
So that's fascinating. So when you originally applied, you put a lot into that community engagement program. And as we discussed, what you learned in retrospect, it was more of a check the box kind of thing. So you were able to reuse all of that institutional knowledge from working in the communities to apply it toward this new venture, which is tremendous. Talk about why you and the 1937 team have maybe more of an intrinsic understanding of community needs as it relates to this program.
Yeah. So, when Illinois created its social equity program, they tried to design it to allow ownership for people who have been impacted by the war on drugs, but have also been impacted by violence. And so specifically, I felt it was important to address a lot of what I've been seeing in our communities around that deal with people who've been impacted by violence and have trauma, and violence-induced trauma, really. Personally, I have been a victim of gun violence, of gang violence, and, it affected me greatly. But the reality is I didn't realize it until many years later, the real impact that it had and how it influenced, how I think and, how I behave and things I do and say. And so, I realized that there's a lot of people who will go through the same things that I go through in our communities, and they have to continue to stay in those environments and deal with those same issues on a regular basis. And there's not a whole lot of discussion around, especially when it comes to males and dealing with violence and gun violence, and on how to really process that and make changes so that it just doesn't continue to become kind of a circular issue.
And that leads us to where we are today in front of a mobile healing center. So talk about the advantages of literally taking your programming into the communities that are most impacted relative to how people are treated today.
Yeah, we were fortunate to have our grant actually extended to years 2 and years 3. And as we thought about, how we can make the most impact, we ended up really kind of moving away from a singular brick and mortar location, where the people that we want to reach are going to have difficulty getting to us, difficulty dealing with public transportation in some instances. And so, we really kind of sat back and said to ourselves, how can we turn this model upside down and actually bring the service to the people in a way where they can really leverage it to its full potential. And that's the kind of thinking that brought us towards this idea of creating a mobile, healing bus.
And what are some of the programming? Obviously, there's a lot of buses right now in the cannabis industry. This is not a cannabis bus, but this is a bus brought to you by a cannabis company. Talk about some of the healing resources and some of the educational opportunities that you're going to provide.
Right. So the 1937 Foundation is the impact arm for the 1937 group. And then, as you mentioned, as a 501c3, it's not a cannabis company. What it focuses on is providing awareness and services, and specifically mental health services for folks who have been impacted by violence-induced trauma. And so, when we talk about the types of activities that we'll be, promoting and having on the bus and outside of the bus in different areas, right? It's going to include things like group counseling, one-on-one counseling and therapy, even things like meditation classes, sound baths, yoga, and a lot of education around just this phenomena of trauma, and again, how it plays itself in your life. And what you can do to really grow through it, right? Our model that our program is built off of is called the Growth Through Adversity model, right? And it just kind of helps people understand that, yes, although something happened to you that was very traumatic, right, you don't have to let that stop your growth, right? And we provide actionable solutions for people to work through that.
And in addition to the trauma that you've discussed in your own personal history, there is a lot of resilience within the cannabis community here in Illinois. Startups, you alluded to multiple years of licenses being scored and today's funding challenges, et cetera. How are you working with other cannabis companies and other parts of the ecosystem to scale the benefits of this healing center?
Yeah. I think just in general, what we found is that social equity is not something that can be legislated. There's been multiple attempts throughout the country that have all fell flat on their face. And for me, if we really want to see true change, it's going to have to come from within. And so, I really try to live that model where it's like, be the change that you want to see, all right? And so, again, for us, we've been able to generate a sizable amount of momentum with all the different areas that we're involved in. And so, just by the virtue of extending, what we have to others and providing opportunities to collaborate and providing opportunities for others to get involved and participate in this industry, I think for us, that's a very significant first step.
Excellent. We say us, there's obviously a team with here. Should we get some insight from other members of the team?